Welcome, everyone. Good to be with you again. Brad Macbeth here from The Simple Plan with The Simple Plan Live. This is a beautiful summer edition. The hot weather's here. People are heading out on vacation. Lots going on. Chaos at the airports. Flights canceled all over the place. Maybe this is the new normal. There's a lot more chaos for sure. In fact, we've seen a number of things happen this week. Or in the last couple of weeks, we've had inflation, Canada's inflation rate for the 12-month inflation rate effective the end of June, 8.1%. And the Bank of Canada predicting that this is going to last for some time. This after them raising interest rates the week before by a full percentage points. That means interest rates have now risen fivefold from 0.5% to 2.5% in this 6 months. Also, 1% rate rise, the last rise. That's the biggest rate rise in an awful long time, nearly 4 decades. Also, we're expecting another rate rise coming up in September, probably. So that's only 7 weeks away. Lots of things going on. Seems to have had a dampening effect on the housing market. I don't think it's going to have it's definitely had a large dampening effect on the housing market. I don't anticipate it's going to have a big effect on house prices, just because there's such a shortage of supply and our capacity to build more is not great and not easily increased. So yeah, that's kind of where things are at. I hope you're enjoying a great summer. A lot of people, because of interest rates, because of inflation, because of investment markets, down 20% this year, are feeling a lot of financial anxiety. And we've been going over just many ways, many strategies in these past weeks for how you can build in a lot more certainty and security into your finances. And we're going to look today at life insurance, that big age-old question about buy term and invest the difference. I'll get into explaining that in just a minute. But first, I want to thank the Simple Plan community, our sponsor for today. Come join us there, won't you? Facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. We have a lot of great conversations, tools, tips, tricks, all going on in there. Walk together with like-minded folks who are trying to make the most of their personal finances and their family's finances to be secure financially for today and to build the future that you want financially. And we're going to get into looking at this buy term, invest the difference question in just a moment. First, I want to explain where the concept comes from, what it's about. You've certainly heard finance gurus like Dave Ramsey talk about it, and others. It's often on the lips of some advisors. But the interesting thing is they'll kind of, first off, pass it off as a foregone conclusion and very obvious. But when we dig down, I'm not sure that comparisons are often that fair when either side is running them. So that's what I wanted to drill down into. And what we're going to look at today is if we really do a fair comparison, what would the results look like? Now, the concept of buy term, invest the difference is fairly simple. What it means is buy term insurance rather than buying cash value insurance. And because it's less expensive, certainly to buy term insurance on a monthly premium basis. And then the idea is, well, rather than paying bigger premiums for more fully featured life insurance that you get with cash value life insurance, the idea is to simply buy the stripped down term insurance for a defined period of time, at which point the term insurance, if you haven't passed away, and most never do, 98% of term insurance policies never pay out because people survive either the length of the term or they at least survive until they cancel the policies. So only 2% of those pay out, which is why they're inexpensive, relatively speaking. But that's all there is. You pay the premiums, you have the coverage, it's great, it's really good for temporary needs, for substantial needs that you don't want to cover with cash value insurance. But, some people balk at paying premiums and feeling like they get nothing in the end. We looked at that last week, how you could actually structure a plan with a tiny bit of permanent insurance and thereby recover all your premiums. But on the buy term invest the difference plan, the concept is pay the lower price premiums for the term life insurance and take the difference, that is the amount that you would have spent on the cash value insurance, and invest that in conventional investments like mutual funds, and you should end up far ahead. That's the claim of people who promote that. Now, the buy term invest the difference concept was first promoted by a guy named A.L. Williams for what was initially the A.L. Williams Company, eventually became Primerica. Primerica is still with us today. And Primerica is, it's a number of things. They offer financial services. They're a multi-level marketing company. So all the structure that comes with that. And they also have their own brand of life insurance. So you can actually buy Primerica life insurance. No one else can sell Primerica life insurance other than Primerica. So that's who Primerica is. And then there was another large offshoot of that organization called World Financial Group that also another multi-level marketing company that offers financial services. And they too promote, actually, they don't promote the buy term invest the difference. That was where the kind of the great schism came, I guess. And there are many other companies around that kind of promote only the buy term and invest the difference approach. But is it really all that it's cracked up to be? That's what we're going to look at. So let's get right to it. We're going to look at, I've put together a report that shows us exactly that, what buying term and investing the difference looks like. So what we have here is we have two policies that I've configured. One is called, so we're using, in this case, a 30-year-old woman as our prospect. She doesn't smoke, and she's looking for insurance coverage for 30 years, just about to have their first child. They plan on having multiple children. So that's about the right length of coverage for term coverage. We'll see them through until their children are finished college. And we're going to be contrasting that with a whole life policy that I've configured to be fully paid up in 10 years. So I'm taking something that, in a way, gives the best value for whole life, but that means it's got some fairly hefty premiums in the first 10 years, and then none afterward. And that's a guaranteed part of the policy. It can't be changed. So if you make those 10 years of payments, the policy is fully paid up. Now, honestly, I would not normally configure things this way, but it's the best way to compare apples to apples. Normally, for a family that needed $500,000 of coverage for their family for the period their children are young, I probably wouldn't be buying $500,000 of whole life instead. We might look at buying $100,000 worth of whole life and then get $400,000 worth of term. And that would definitely make the premiums less expensive and still give great value. But I wanted to compare apples to apples. So we're comparing a $500,000 term life policy on a 30-year term, at which point no more premiums, it all drops off and the coverage ceases. With a 10-pay whole life policy for $500,000 that's going to have premiums paid for 10 years, and thereafter there'll be no more premiums. And of course, you then just keep the policy for life and it'll eventually pay out. Now, you can see that there's an enormous difference in the premiums here. We're looking at $33 a month compared to $1,900 a month. So that's going to give us a very substantial portion to invest the difference. About $1,882 per month will go into investment. So again, it's a bit of an unusual scenario, but for a family that had a good income, investing $1,800 a month, is probably about right. Now, let me also say that I'm not and virtually no one that I know is an advocate for doing all your investing inside an insurance policy. Investments inside an insurance policy or cash value inside an insurance policy can be a great addition to your portfolio. It's a great substitute for the bond portion of a portfolio because bonds have been performing so poorly, and these policies are very secure. And like I would certainly compare the security in them to the security in a bond portfolio, but they've been doing much better for the last 20 years anyway, at least. So let's drill down into this. So just to recap, we've got $33 a month going into our term life insurance premiums. It's going to buy us 30 years worth of term insurance for $500,000. And the difference, the $1,882, is going to get invested. As compared to the 10-pay whole life, which is $1,915 per month for 10 years. So of course, with the buy term invest the difference approach, we're only going to be contributing that difference for the first 10 years as well. All right, so let's see what that brings. So first off, we see the total premiums, the annual premiums that are paid. Quite substantial here. Our green line is our 10-pay whole life. So premiums are quite high there. That's $22,980 a year for 10 years, and then it just drops completely to zero and nothing else goes in. For the 30-pay term insurance, we're paying about $400 a year for 30 years. And now we see the total sum of the premium. So easily compared here at age. So of course the whole life premiums stop here at age 40. And we can compare at age 60 when the term life policy premiums cease. We'll see that we've spent about $12,000 on the term life insurance premiums as opposed to $229,000 that's gone into the whole life plan. So you can anticipate, of course, that a lot of that money that's gone into the whole life plan has gone into the cash value itself. All right, so let's see here what the results are. So this is strictly the 10-pay whole life, the results. We can see a couple of things here. First off, just here we see that at age 45, year 15 is the year at which the premiums paid exceed the cash value inside the life insurance plan. So the premiums that go into this whole life plan are paying for insurance. And of course, if we're only paying 10 years of premiums, we are prepaying or paying in advance a lifetime of insurance premiums. That actually brings down the overall cost of what we would pay. We saw in last week's presentation, I think, that we would be paying about 4 times as much total in premiums if we paid it the lower amount over a lifetime than if we just pay it all in the first 10 years. You can also do this in 20 years, by the way. There's also 20 pay, which would bring down the premiums on a year, monthly and annual basis for those 20 years. Okay, so we see that year 15, the premiums paid is $229,800, and now the total cash value is projected to be at $235,800. So our cash value year 15 has now exceeded our premiums paid. And I'm basing that on the dividends that are being paid and have been paid consistently in the whole life plans for many years. In fact, they're at a low, and I've used the current low. They're at 6.05%. They're low right now because we've been in a low rate interest environment. If we see interest rates kick up and stay up, then we'll probably see the dividends inside those cash value policies increase, and you might see an even larger return. All right, and so then here, another thing I like to look at is at age 87, life expectancy. So at life expectancy, the cash value, again, bearing in mind we've paid, let's just call it $230,000 in premiums. The cash value is now at $2.7 million. So our cash value has accrued to $2.7 million. So one thing worth noting is that anywhere along the way, you can access that cash value. We'll talk about that another day, more about how that happens and ways you can use it. But you can access it for specific projects. You can access it for retirement spending, regular monthly or annual spending. You could use it to fund disability issues or long-term care issues. These policies, both policies in fact, while they're in force, would also have an ability to access funds in the case that you were mortally or terminally ill. However, the whole life plan also has an ability to access a significant portion of the funds from the cash value if you are disabled. Okay, so we look at total insurance benefit for the whole life policy, and you can see that it increases over time. We start out at $500,000, and if we made it at life expectancy, so when it's anticipated you'd pass away, we see that the insurance benefit is $3.23 million. That's going to pay out to your named beneficiaries if you haven't used up any of the cash value. That's going to pay out to your named beneficiaries in a single check within a couple of weeks of your death. And there's no tax on that. One of the beautiful things about life insurance benefits in Canada. So $3.23 million. Bear in mind, we've paid, what did we say? About $300,000. No. What did we paid? We paid $230,000 in premiums. So for $230,000 in premiums at life expectancy age 87, our $230,000 in premiums has turned into $3.23 million in a non-taxable benefit that pays out to our family, to our friends, and to our charities, whatever we prefer to designate. And there's no tax paid on that. If we actually made it to the ripe old age of 100, which for a 30-year-old today is quite possible, that insurance benefit would have increased to $4.4 million. Okay, so that's what it looks on the whole life front. This just compares the cash and insurance that we just talked about. This shows us the rate of return for our premiums. So the rate of return, so we've been putting money into this. So for every penny, that includes the fact that we've had this insurance benefit all the way through, for every penny we've paid into this plan, what's the rate of return that we've gotten over the long haul? And so as we move along here, we see that by the time we're 25 years into the plan, the rate of return on our premiums, on our total premiums, is 3.74%. Now, that may sound low compared to equity returns, but this is why I say I wouldn't compare investing in this type of a plan to my main retirement investing, where I am going to invest in equities to get those higher returns, along with the higher risk that comes with it. But this compares very favorably to a bond portfolio. Bond portfolios have been averaging about 2% and less here over the last 20 years. So 3.74% inside these plans. And by the way, your bond portfolio at 2% then gets taxed as income. The growth gets taxed as income. Whereas inside these plans, there is no tax, only if we withdraw the money. And as we move along, we see as we get to retirement, age 65, the rate of return on our cash is 4.6%. And that's about where it lands, just under 4.83%, and stays about there for the rest of the policy life. So if you can get 4.85% and it's going to last you a lifetime, and there are ways to get at that money without paying any tax, multiple ways, that compares extremely favorably with the portion of your portfolio that might normally be in bonds, in a balanced portfolio. Now, the insurance benefit, we look at, at age 60, and of course, we're hoping you live well past age 60. The insurance benefit, the rate of return, is equivalent to 7.81%. And you notice that X up there, that's our 30-year term policy ending because it dropped at age 60, right? So, of course, that approach where we've spent the money on premiums, that money is gone if we survive past age 60. We've had the benefit of the financial security of the coverage, but if we don't die, and hopefully we don't, then the premiums have been paid, but we now have nothing left from it. And so we see as we move along, we get to age 87, again, life expectancy. The rate of return on our insurance benefit for our premiums paid is 5.14%. So again, compares extremely favorably with bonds that have been doing 2% and on which we pay income taxes. Whereas on this, we look at 5% at life expectancy, 5.14%, and we pay no tax on that when it pays out as an insurance benefit. Okay, so let's kind of flip it around. What kind of a rate of return would we need on an invest the difference kind of investment in order to get the same types of internal rates of return, given the tax level we're going to pay on our on our investment portfolio for the invest the difference? Okay, so numbers are always highly distorted in the early years because there haven't been a lot of premiums paid or what have you. So I like to look at, when we get 30 years out, when our 30-year policy has expired. So the invest the difference plan would need to have received 8.7% to achieve the same result as the rate of return on the cash value of the whole life policy at 4.29. You need to be getting 8.7% so that after paying taxes, you'd be getting the equivalent of what you're getting on the cash value. So ask yourself this. The rate of return, the 4.29%, is very conservative and very solid. These plans have paid out dividends for the last 90 years, since the 1930s, with this particular insurance company. Oh, and by the way, one thing that can never happen with your investment, your cash value inside your insurance plan, it can never go backwards. There is no less than zero return. There's no negative return. The worst thing that could happen would be if the insurance company didn't pay a dividend in a particular year, in which case your return that year would be zero. However, they have paid dividends every year since inception, which is in the mid-1930s. So compare that with your invest the difference portfolio, which would have to get an 8.7% rate of return. So you need a pretty aggressive portfolio to be confident you're going to get that, along with which is going to come a lot of ups and downs and a lot of other risks, things like sequence of return risks. So you want to carefully we're really looking to compare apples to apples. So one thing, even to get the equivalent of this 4.29%, you'd have to be getting 8.7. Now, let's think about that for a moment. We're talking about having to get an aggressive rate of return simply to get the equivalent of a relatively modest rate of return. Now, if you've got money inside a registered plan of some kind, then maybe you don't have quite the same level of return. But nonetheless, you're going to take a fair bit of risk just to equal a level of return that you can have some pretty big confidence about, and that can never have a worse than zero result in any given year. So again, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't be investing in equities, because we do want to get more than that net 4.29% rate of return. So we're going to have a portion of our investment in equities. Once again, though, we're comparing apples to apples here. So this is the apples to apples comparison. Okay, so again, looking at our equivalent rate of return, this is for the insurance benefit, which we know is higher. So the insurance benefit rate of return that we would need to get, or the invest the difference rate of return that we would need to get in order to hit the equivalent of the what we're getting inside our cash value plan still is higher yet, because the insurance benefit is fairly high. So just hang on a sec here. So here we've got, at age 95, you would have to have gotten a 9.75% rate of return on your invest the difference plan to match the 4.81% rate of return that the insurance plan is providing. So what's the likelihood of that happening? And of course, in the nearer terms, so let's look at life expectancy. Let's look at age 87 here. At age 87, we've had 5.14% rate of return on all our life insurance premiums when our whole life plan pays out. Whereas here, in our Invest the Difference plan, which is going to be heavily taxed, whether it's coming out as cash or coming out of an RSP, you need then 10.43%. I'm using Ontario's income tax rates there, by the way, but they're not that much different in most provinces. So once again, a conservative, solid investment that has paid year after year after year through all the ups and downs, compared with having to find something that's going to give you for the next 57 years a 10.43% rate of return just to get that level. All right. And so just in case you think that I'm playing with numbers, here's what we used. And by the way, these numbers come right out of the Financial Planning Council's recommended projections, which they update every year when we're doing financial projections. So we've got, I'm comparing a 70-30 portfolio because that's a very common thing. Many people sadly go to the bank to get their financial advice. So they're getting put into these so-called balanced portfolios. And the balanced portfolio is paying them, they're putting them in 30% interest-bearing or what we call fixed income investments, and 70% equities. Sometimes it's even going 60-40. And that these are the growth rates for each of these categories. And so I think I put that together and it averages out at about 5.5%. And so the tax rates, those are just the tax rates for the province of Ontario. So I've compared that with the rates of return that are offered inside the insurance plans. So here's the graph that shows you, or the chart that shows you how it all works out. So we start here on the very left edge with either our 30-year term policy or our whole life plan, our cash value life insurance. And we move along. And so then what we see is at age 40, the whole life premiums end. And the invest the difference deposits, investment deposits end as well, just to compare apples to apples. At age 56, the cash value of the whole life plan now exceeds the investment growth of the buy term invest the difference plan. You can see the crossing happening here. The blue line is the buy term invest the difference line. The green line is the cash value inside the whole life plan. And remember, the insurance benefit, in fact, we can put that up there as well. There we go. So that purple line is our insurance benefit, which far exceeds the cash value. So once we get to age 60, now, of course, here our whole life plan is exceeding, the cash value is exceeding the funds inside the buy term invest the difference investment. And of course, there is no life insurance remaining any longer for the person with the term 30 policy, for the buy term invest the difference plan. And so what we see here is, if, heaven forbid, the policy owner died at age 60, all that there would be from the buy term invest the difference plan is, let's see this. Why are we not? Interesting. We're not getting the pop-up there. Okay. Well, we'll just have to guesstimate it then. So we are at about 500,000. The cash value, or the accumulation inside the invest the difference investment plan, is about 500,000. However, what's the life insurance value is now built to about $1.6 million. So if the person passes away, they're going to get the cash value and the insurance benefit of the whole life plan, which is a total of about $1.6 million at this point. At retirement, at age 65, the invest the difference value plan is now at about $772,000, and the cash value in the whole life plan is at $907,000. So, entering retirement, the retiree that took the whole life plan has about $135,000 more, about 20% more available than the person that took the invest the difference approach. We move out to age 87, and we see, which is life expectancy, and we see that the whole life plan now has about $2.7 million in cash value. The invest the difference plan has about $2.3 million in value. So we're at about a $400,000 or 15% difference. The whole life plan is 15% higher. But even more interestingly, at life expectancy, so if the person passes away at life expectancy, it's going to pay out $3.2 million, which is about 50% more than the money inside the buy term invest the difference plan. So this is simply looking at all the different, trying to compare apples to apples. There's lots of variables. So, often people will manipulate the numbers to fit with their philosophical point of view. And I can tell you that I've been a buy term invest the difference plan for many years. I've been an advisor for 20 years, and I have, until relatively recently, sold mostly term insurance. However, now I'm working much more on offering hybrid plans for a number of reasons. One, because the numbers make it so. Two, because we've been in such a poor return environment for bonds. And three, because of my experience with many clients who had already purchased whole life plans and how much they appreciated those plans. Now, to be fair, I've also worked with people who've had poorly designed whole life plans, and I've had experience with people who've had very poorly designed universal life plans, another form of cash value life insurance. And those plans were designed poorly by advisors who I suppose didn't really understand what they were doing or didn't pay attention to them over the long run. But when we really compare what's possible with these plans, I think it's quite apparent that there is a lot to be gained in the use of some cash value life insurance. Not as your sole, definitely not as your sole source for building all your retirement, in investing. Definitely not as your sole source for life insurance, because you'll have a large need. Most families have a large need for life insurance when they have a young family at home. And so they only have that need temporarily. So we should only buy temporary coverage when we have a temporary need. But there can be a great asset value and also a great diversification. So consider this. Right now, stocks are down 20%. Bonds are down. In Canada, bonds have been down 12% during this downturn. They're supposed to be the stabilizing influence, and they're not stabilizing much. They're just another lead weight. And yet these plans are going to continue paying 6.05. They paid in 2021. They're paying 6.05 in 2022. Now, maybe that'll drop in 2023, but I don't think it will, because interest rates have risen. And interest rates have a significant effect on the dividends paid on cash values inside life insurance plans, whole life plans anyway. So that's what's caused me to look much more deeply into this. And you may have caught that I ran another episode or another video on really not looking at these numbers so much, but getting into, well, I actually do a commentary on an extensive analysis by Dave Ramsey, who makes all sorts of claims, but they really don't hold up. Again, if you designed a whole life plan the way he's imagining someone might, and probably the way some people have done it very poorly at times, then he would be correct. But if you drill down into the numbers on a well-designed plan, that's not the case at all. You have to work with a reputable advisor. All right, and so just our last bit of analysis here. This is a bit of an error here on the side, a bug in the program apparently. This is your 30-year term policy. Of course, after age 60, it should be at zero. So at this point, it should be 500 up to this point, and then thereafter it should be zero. So if we see here, we've got the buy term invest the difference plan. These are the amounts that come from there. And then we've got your cash value in the whole life plan. And we've got the total insurance benefit in the whole life plan. So we can see that, of course, out of the gate, we have a better insurance benefit all the way through, and especially past age 60. At the same time, we have an insurance benefit that far exceeds the result of the Invest the Difference plan, which, again, after age 60, has no life insurance. So I probably should go back and redo this and compare it to term to 100 insurance, which would be the most fair comparison, in which case it's going to look much worse for the buy term invest the difference team. And even the cash value of the life insurance plan, once we get, where is it? No, it's back here. So once we get 490, 524, there it is. Okay. So once we get 26 years in, age 56 for this person, the cash value even exceeds the Invest the Difference plan, and it continues to do so. All right. And so that's it. That's the analysis. That's what the numbers say. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying this is what the analysis really shows. Now, let me say a few things. First off, you should always be working with an advisor who understands both sides of the equation, that is the investing side and the insurance side. And perhaps maybe you're going to end up working with two advisors who can work in tandem, one who is an insurance expert and another who is more of an investing person. Sometimes people end up with two advisors that way. I think you're better off working with an advisor who works in both areas, just because they can meld, combine to your advantage both areas. Now, the premiums vary for primarily based on age, gender, and smoking status. And after that, of course, your health. If your health is somehow subpar, then that's a factor as well. But age, gender, and smoking status are the three biggest factors in what you're going to pay for in the insurance portion of something. And time also has a big effect. So what I've shown you today is very true for a woman, a non-smoking woman, age 30, in reasonable health. But you may find that analysis doesn't hold up for someone who's 50 years old and needs 15 years of coverage, and et cetera, et cetera. So this decision and the crafting of these kinds of portfolios is very much subject to your individual circumstances. So I put this together not to convince anyone or everyone that they must buy cash value life insurance. That's not, I don't believe that, number one. And number two, that may well not apply at all to your individual circumstance. But what I wanted to show was that people should be looking closely at how a whole life plan might fit into their overall financial portfolio as just another aspect of diversification and financial security, so that they're getting the best value out of their finances. I didn't get into it in great detail. You heard me mention it in a number of ways, but there are some excellent tax advantages to cash value life insurance plans that are afforded by our government. So they're a great place to put money, as I said, as a substitute for a bond portion of a balanced portfolio. They can be a good place to put some money if you've already filled up your tax-free savings account and either an RSP isn't appropriate for you, or you don't like RSPs, or what have you. But definitely when you're getting your life insurance plan together, you should give some thought and some deep analysis to how a cash value plan, life insurance plan, could form a portion of your life insurance portfolio. For most people, unless they're quite wealthy, it won't become all of their life insurance portfolio. Or if they're in a later stage of life and they just need a modest amount of life insurance for end-of-life purposes, or if they need money for estate planning purposes, which many people have need for. Of course, term insurance can't really be used reasonably for estate planning purposes because you will likely outlive your term insurance. As the saying goes, term insurance is for if you die, whole life insurance or cash value insurance is for when you die. And of course, we are all going to die. There's no escaping that. Mortality rate of life is 100%. So this is just some great tools that we have that we can bring to bear in our financial planning. So I hope you found this helpful. As I said at the top of our time together today, there's a lot of turmoil going on. So I want to say, if you would, there's a couple of things you can do. One, you can subscribe to our newsletter, and I'm going to put that I'll put the address for it in the comments. We put out a weekly update on things that are going on and some strategies and tactics and tools that you can use in your own finances. They're very practical. And all you have to do is subscribe. You go to go.getthesimpleplan /subscribe. Now, why is it hard to type and talk at the same time? I can do both very well, but together, not well at all. Okay, and if you're feeling concerned, or you just want to have a look, or you want to look at something like these whole life options, maybe do just a review of your own insurance or your own financial portfolio, whatever you like, we'd love to talk to you. You can book a free chat with me. Now, honestly, when times are challenging financially, two things happen. Everybody wants to talk, and a lot of people want to get their financial security shored up. So consequently, we're quite busy. So right now we're booking a few weeks out. But I'd love to have a chat with you. I'd love to talk finances. I'd love to hear where you're at, what your concerns are, what you might be worried about. Happy to give you suggestions, insights, and ideas. There's no obligation. There's no cost. If we talk and you decide that there's something that you think we might be able to help you with, well, then we'll talk further about that. But I'd love to just have an initial conversation with you. You can do that at go.getthesimpleplan.com/calendar new. And I'll put that in the comments as well. Oh, and then the typing goes bad. Yeah, book a time. Love to see you. Love to talk. We meet via Zoom, or it can just be on the phone if you prefer that. Those are occasionally I meet with people, but most of our clients are all over the country. We serve clients, hundreds of clients from British Columbia to Ontario. So, of course, we meet with almost all our clients via Zoom or on the phone. Love to meet with you. Book a time and let's connect. So thanks very much. It's been good to be with you. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have comments, let us know what you think. And how are you holding up through these interesting and challenging financial times? There's a lot of things going on, and I understand why people are worried, but they're not all bad. So, for example, older people who are looking for very secure returns on their money are able to get something reasonable, which they haven't been able to get for years. Maybe it's only 3 or 4, or I've heard even 5% on some GICs, but that's much better than it's been for a long time. Anyway, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. It's our pleasure and our goal and desire to help everybody with their financial concerns and help them to have financial peace of mind, both secure for today and on the road to meeting your goals in the future. Thanks very much. Enjoy the great summer, and we'll see you again soon.